and welcome into Poke the Bear episode 30, the Tim Thomas episode. I am Evan Marinofsky alongside Conor Ryan of Boston Sports Journal. Conor, how we doing?
Evan, I'm doing very well. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How's your phone been? It's probably been blowing up because of that viral tweet.
Dude, shout out to, of all places, the Cheesecake Factory was going to be what rocketed me into superstardom. I thought it was going to be a Duncan tweet. You never know, right? You got to keep your options open. The opportunity was there. The Weeknd having a rough time getting through his maze on his performance. So shouts to the Weeknd and shouts to the Cheesecake Factory for taking me to that next level. It's a good couple of days on the Twitter sphere, which doesn't happen that often.
It doesn't. It's funny because I'd run after the halftime show. I'd run to the kitchen. I just ordered a pizza actually, and I ran to go get the pizza. And I go to sit down after I had my pizza. I got my mozzarella sticks. I had to get enough to have it delivered because you can't just have a medium pizza. You got to have something with it.
Of course, yeah.
To get the price. So I had the mozzarella sticks. So I get them. I sit down. I crack open a Down East. I love Down Easts. I sit there and I open Twitter. And I see that you had tweeted that 8 minutes before, and it had like 800 retweets. And I was like, holy shit, this is going to the moon. That is ridiculous. Just the amount of – who retweeted that got that so big so fast? I know Pete tweeted.
Yeah, usually a lot of times it's like you can tell when it takes off, when like the phone starts lighting up like within 30 seconds. But yeah, usually if I have a good tweet, usually Pete launches it. Pete, John Feidelberg, a few guys like that will usually give it a good push on social media. So, but then it just started going off. Like I went through, I was trying to keep tabs on if anyone like big like retweeted it, and it was like some WWE wrestler who I don't know, who that I just don't.
I would have went crazy if that was
is Sasha Banks a
I don't know
WWE?
who that is.
I don't know. But she retweeted me, and it was like 2 million followers. So Gabrielle Union, which is pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Which, like, she might have been watching the game with Dwayne Wade. So maybe, like, she saw it and was like, oh, look at this. And he was like, oh. Which, like, is cool
Conor
enough
Ryan,
for me.
I subscribe to Boston
Which is cool enough for me,
Journal.
right? Yeah, exactly. Noted BSJ subscriber, Dwayne Wade. So it was pretty neat. Yeah, the thing is, like, I have notifications if, like, it's, people retweeting it, in a large amount. So, like, that whole night, literally my phone was just going off the entire time. But it's a good problem to have. When you drop a bang of tweet, you got to take a lap a little bit, right?
You got to celebrate. No, you got to celebrate. It's funny. I have not turned notifications off yet. My notifications are all on, so I get every single notification. I enjoy it. It's a very sick thing to do, but I do enjoy just seeing all the notifications come in. It's fun to see what people are talking about and saying and liking. But yes, that blew up. That exploded. That was tweet of the night, by the way. It was a great tweet. Like, I'm glad that it was a good tweet and it wasn't just like a 2-word tweet or something that just like randomly exploded. Like,
Right.
You've seen those tweets where it's just like, a few sentence or, a sentence or something.
Mm-hmm.
That was actually like a creative, original tweet. It wasn't just like
who knew that the Cheesecake Factory resonated with so many people? Because let me tell you, the cruel irony. I don't think I've been to the Cheesecake Factory in like a fucking decade. Like I can't think of the last time I've been. But all like you got a good tweet when like all the quote tweets are like they really are running like the people out there. I'm like, apparently it is a thing that the Cheesecake Factory. Like I was debating between like Cheesecake Factory and like Rainforest Cafe or some like obscure like chain that. You have to like
Bugaboo Creek.
Yeah, Bugaboo Creek. That's the thing, right? Well, everyone apparently was quote tweeting and said it was Buca de Beppo is the new one, which I don't think there's any Buca de Beppos around here.
I've never heard of that.
Apparently, their hosts are well known for just sprinting apparently to the table. So,
I've never heard of Buca de Beppo.
For all the loyal Buca de Beppo patrons listening to this podcast, that maybe it resonates with you, but
they're like, yes,
but.
Yeah, no, it's but that whole tweet and just it's fun in those big events. What tweets do well, what tweets kind of rise to the surface. I was pissed though, and I didn't tell you this. Twitter made a thread. Twitter itself made a thread of all the best memes from the Weeknd's performance.
Yeah,
and yours was not in there. I was pissed because your tweet did better than all of those other ones, and in my opinion, was actually better than the other. The other ones were like, some Joe Schmo news anchor from like Kansas tweeting the same clip and being like, a 4-year-old trying to find his mom at a grocery store. Like, that's not creative because it's so obvious.
I liked the one where it was the person where like it was the Weeknd's face up close, and it's like my pizza roll is looking at me in the microwave. Like that one was pretty good. So
Sarah Sivian had a good tweet. It was So she tweeted the one where the Weeknd's face was right up close.
Yeah.
And she said like me, hi, and then someone like some random person on Twitter, it's hello, actually.
Yeah. Dude, what are you talking? You had a banging tweet too with the David Krejci thing. That's why the Super Bowl is the best, right? Is that it's like, you know, it's Oscars for the sports world, right? Because everyone's watching.
Yes,
so
yes.
Even if you have a tweet that like on a normal day would do like 500, likes, it like will get bumped up to like 2K, right?
Oh
like,
yeah,
it's
absolutely.
It's Oscars night for us.
I figured if I took that clip and made it into like another kind of trying to find something outside of sports meme, I would just be copying what you said. And I was like, I don't want to do that. So I was like, what's a good Bruins reference here? Because like I'm gonna stay with my core, my Bruins audience.
You can't
and it was
stray
like,
too far.
David Krejci couldn't find a right wing. And I figured EDT would tweet that, but he tweeted Tony D'Angelo trying to find a job. So it's pretty damn good.
It was a good day on Twitter. Super Bowl Sunday is a great, just in terms of just the theatrics around it, but also on Twitter. Usually it's an all-time day because there'll be something stupid that people will find that will make a meme out of it. So
and we're lucky because we don't have to really cover it. So for us, we can have fun. If it's a Stanley Cup final, like we're working it. We're actually like trying to do things. Right. We're not sitting there tweeting out dopey memes. So well, still sometimes we do. But anyways, speaking of the Super Bowl, Tom Brady wins it down in Tampa Bay. Down in Tampa, literally, like he won it in Tampa and won it with the Buccaneers. And I love this. Mookie Betts goes to the LA Dodgers, wins a World Series. Tom Brady goes to the Buccaneers, wins the Super Bowl. Zdeno Chara goes to the Caps. Is he next to win a Stanley Cup?
Well, if you look at like the track record, it might very well be the case. Again, are the Capitals favorites in the East? I mean, I don't think so, but you still look at kind of the way they're built. That's a team that very well can go on a run in the playoffs. I mean, we've talked about this before, but the fact that this core with how good they are, veteran talent, big bodies, the fact they've only have won once during this kind of run that they've had is like shocking, just in terms of how well they are built for the playoffs.
So only been there once, because the Bruins have only won once, but they've been there 3 times. The Caps only once.
Right. So yeah, I mean, if that happens, I think like whether it be Betts, Brady, or like if Chara's to win, obviously it's all bittersweet, right? I think everyone's on the same wavelength of like I think people were more or less happy for Brady and Gronk. Like I think even some of the people who were kind of salty at the beginning of the year, like between them and the Chiefs, and especially just like the achievement of it, you're like happy for it, right? And I think if like Chara and the Caps win, it might even like sting a little bit more, because here's the thing: is the Patriots. It's not like the Patriots were like, we're moving on, like we can still keep this run going with someone else. It's like, no, like we're rebuilding. Like we were going to take a step back. So like Patriots rebuild, Brady goes to another talented team, wins a Super Bowl. He got what he wanted, and Patriots, had to rip off the Band-Aid at some point and rebuild. So what are you gonna do? If like the Bruins, like who have this cup window open for only another year or two, view it as like, we're moving on from Chara, and Chara goes to another team, beats the Bruins in the playoffs, and then like wins a cup, that might sting more, right? Like all of them have that little bittersweet element to it, but like Red Sox are rebuilding, Patriots are rebuilding, Bruins are right in the thick of it. Right? They should be one of the favorites in the East, if not the rest of the NHL. If they come up short to a team that signed Chara for $700,000, then it might sting a little bit more. Now, granted, you look at it, right? It's not like the Bruins are all running games, 6-5, and their defense has been bad. The defense has been fantastic. So, there's that angle of it, but in terms of, I think, just maybe the narrative of where the Boston teams were going, if Chara wins elsewhere, I think it maybe stings a little bit more, because I don't think anyone was expecting the Red Sox or the Patriots to put together a miracle run this year.
Of course it's going to sting more. The Patriots won 6 with Brady. The Bruins won 1. And you went to 3 and lost 2 of them. Yes. Oh, if Chara wins, it stings 1,000 times more. I mean, people will root for him, but they're not going to, low-key, they're not going to want to see it. Just given that, you want that done in Boston. You don't want that done in Washington. Brady gave all he had here. Not saying Chara didn't, but Chara still, I mean, they only won once. The Patriots won 6 times. So yes, to me, 100%, would sting more. Obviously, he'd have less to do with the cup down there. Like I think he would help, but Brady was the reason they won the Super Bowl and went there.
It's not like that or even Betts.
Yeah.
In
yeah.
LA.
Like Betts was a centerpiece, even though DC has Chara on the power play, which I was just stunned with. That I don't really understand that whole thing, but nevertheless, yes, I think Chara winning in DC stings a ton, especially because they're in the same division. Like, and that's I think the other thing is just like the Patriots, as I said, won more. Like, just there's been so much winning that would have obviously sting more. But that's good. Now let's look towards the future a little bit. Not as far ahead as the Stanley Cup, but Lake Tahoe. This weird middle of the season tournament they're doing at Lake Tahoe, Bruins, Flyers, and Blues, and the Golden Knights. Is this going to happen? Because judging off the past week, I don't know about this one.
Sure. Shit doesn't look like it's going to happen, or if it is, it's going to be some different teams than what we expected. I mean, going into it was Bruins, Flyers, and then Golden Knights and the Avalanche. And
not the Blues. I don't know why I said the Blues. The Avalanche.
Yeah, it's Avalanche, right?
Yeah, it is. You're right. You're 100% right.
The Blues are busy. The Blues are busy playing the Coyotes for like the next 3 months, apparently. So, but no, you look at it, right? I mean, the Flyers. We should knock on wood that whenever, when this podcast drops, hopefully the Bruins don't have any issues, because it seems like we have another outbreak starting in Philly where it's Giroux, Justin Braun, and I think Travis Sanheim.
So many of these people are on my fantasy team. I think what gets lost in this is these people who cares about their health? It's my fantasy team.
I know. It's a rough hit for you, Evan.
Terrible hit.
But so you go look at Philly. They're out 3 guys now. Where there's smoke, there's fire when it comes to these things. So you have to imagine there's probably going to be more. They already postponed one game that Philly was going to play against the Capitals. So have to monitor that situation, not just for the Flyers, but hopefully, knock on wood, this wasn't a case where the Bruins were affected, because the Bruins played Philly just last week. So you have to monitor that. And then we've got this absolute shit show of a situation now in Vegas where they already shut things down for, over a week when they had a few guys test positive. Then they play that game against Anaheim. They hold out a guy after the second period. Turns out, I think Frank Saravelli said that whoever it was that was held out tested positive, which, like, why the hell was this guy playing? So
I love this whole pulling people out of games midway through.
Like, it's going to
help. They have COVID. It's like what is that? Just that doesn't help anything. They're already there. They've already been there.
And that was a situation too. Like Kevin Durant had that situation with the Nets where that was a case of, I think he was in close contact to someone who tested positive. Like, this is even worse because it was a dude who was legitimately tested positive. So this guy was walking around, or skating around rather, like contagious.
Skating around.
So, yeah, I mean, the NHL needs to. I don't think there's going to be a situation where the NHL is going to be like, we're shutting everything down for like a week or two. I don't think they're going to do that yet, but they've got to tweak their, their testing protocols or what have you, whether it's, mandating rapid testing. Because I don't know how that Vegas player, maybe his tests were inconclusive, but how he's allowed to play if they don't have his tests in yet, if they don't have his results in yet. Like, would you rather be safe than sorry in that situation? Like, it would suck if, like, just off of poor testing, turnaround, if like the Bruins didn't have pasta or something just off of a delayed test, but would rather that than having a situation where you could have an outbreak on your team. So, yeah, I mean, listen, the Lake Tahoe thing's it's less than 2 weeks away. You've got to either nip it in the bud in terms of what you're doing to stop these outbreaks, or you're going to just switch the teams around, because like when they even announced that, even with no fans, you're like, all right, what are we doing? Like, why are we sending these teams out to Lake Tahoe? Is the cool optics of it going to change? The
coughing on the ice.
Yeah, like the decision to like risk it in a year where already you've done a pretty shitty job. Like, if I'm the Sabres, we've talked about this before, but if I'm the Sabres, I'm rip shit at the league for letting them play those 2 games against the Devils when the Devils legitimately were like a walking contagion out there. Like, and now you've got 9 guys on the Sabres out. Ralph Kruger, their head coach, has COVID. Like, and all that could have been avoided just by like holding off that anticipated matchup between the friggin' Devils and the Sabres for a weekend series. So
if you notice with these outbreaks, you see it one player on one of these teams will test positive or be put into protocol, and then a couple days later, more, and then a couple days later, more. And it's like, I remember the Devils seeing like Mackenzie Blackwood, a few weeks ago get put on the list. And then all of a sudden, a few more and a few more. And it just becomes an outbreak. It starts, again, with one person. Yep. So to me, what this all says to me is, granted, when the playoffs come around, it'll be spring. Maybe more people are vaccinated. Hopefully, the warmer weather. Remember during the summer, the COVID cases got a lot better. I mean, we're nostalgic for last summer for the amount of COVID cases we had. It was
like 600 people a day. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was nothing. But I think, warmer weather obviously will help and all that stuff. But one has to ask themselves, are they going to have to do a bubble for the playoffs? Because think if you were the Bruins, or think if you were the Flyers or any of these teams, and you have to pull Pastrnak or Giroux or Ovechkin or someone in the first or second period, or you have a huge outbreak and you have like the Black Aces playing against the Washington Capitals, or, you're playing a team, you're in a 7-game series and the other team gets a COVID outbreak and you've been playing them and skating next to them and going at each other for 4 games already. Like, are they going to have to go to a bubble again for the playoffs?
I'm sure the players would be pissed about that. I don't know if you even get that off the ground. I think
if you're a player, would you rather, like, honestly, and people might laugh at this, but I understand why the players would think this. Would you rather risk getting COVID or like lose your mind in a hotel room?
Yeah, the players seemed absolutely rip shit with how, they're glad they got the season over, but like, unless you're Tampa Bay Lightning, you probably be like, this was a bunch of bullshit, like dealing with that stuff. And I mean, we'll see. I think it's going to be a day by day, week to week, month to month thing. Because I mean, if you told me back in January when we thought fans would be let in the building, I'd be like, not until May. And apparently today, New York is allowing, I think, 10% of capacity back in arenas. So New York, which was the hottest hit place for months on months the last year, is going to start having people back at MSG and Nassau and all these places, I think, starting February 23rd. So a lot can change in a short amount of time. I mean, who knows? By the time, there's the whole morality argument of, whether these fit pro athletes should be first in line to get vaccines, which was, horse shit, right? Like, no, it's the frontline workers.
They're the real heroes.
Yeah. So, frontline, elderly, all this stuff. But when you hit like May, they very well could be in line just in terms of the natural progression if these vaccination efforts go up. I mean, I think by mid-March, you're expecting 50 plus by that point. Like you're going to start getting into the 20 plus by April or May, hopefully. So they very well could by that point, the argument of vaccinating an entire team in April is not nearly as controversial as would be in January, right? Where we all very well could be in line by that point. People who
sports writers should be number one, in my opinion.
Of course. Well, yeah.
Put our lives on the line, people.
Yeah. To post GIFs and stuff from TD Garden.
Hey, if we get the vaccination, that could hurt our arms, which would slow our typing abilities and abilities to move our arms. That's tough. I don't know if I can't get vaccinated. I can't risk my times.
I mean, I think by the time we get May, we'll see how the situation changes. I have to imagine, unless something drastically has gone wrong, which it seems like we're on the up and up, that the situation will be better, where hopefully either the players are vaccinated by that point or enough of the population is vaccinated where these cases go down. Because as tough as it's been the last year, I think you've seen, especially in the last month or so, the cases have been dropping. We've come from the holiday spike to now it seems like it's across the country, which is promising. The cases are going down and the vaccines are obviously working. So,
except for there's one place in the world that the cases are going way up in, and that is UMass Amherst.
Yes, exactly. Unlike you jabronis, the rest of the country is getting its shit together. So hopefully, I think by that point, they can avoid a situation where it's a full-blown outbreak. But for right now, when you look at this Lake Tahoe game, you either have to adjust some things or do away with it, because you're gonna, unless you want the Bruins to play the Anaheim Ducks, the Danton Heinen Bowl.
No. Oh yes, the Danton Heinen reunion. Nick Ritchie, Andre Kasha. No, I agree with you. I don't know how it's gonna work. I honestly don't know how that's gonna happen. It just doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. But things that do make sense to me, well, maybe not. biggest surprise of the year. Now we're going to transition to biggest surprise of the year. You had a piece for BSJ. Was it last week about us biggest surprises of the year? And that's something we'll hit on to end the show today of who or what we think is our biggest surprise of the year. I will let you go first in what your biggest surprise of the year has been.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the biggest surprise, and maybe it's kind of like a broad analysis, but I think it's overall just the defense, right? I mean, I think going into the year, people were confident about the depth up front, confident that you still had two very good goalies. You had a defense that had some guys who should have taken, the next step, like McAvoy and Grizzlick and Kahlo. But you look at the rest of the defense, right? You had Jeremy Lauzon, who was good last year, but was he going to be ready for heavy PK minutes, top pairing role? No one really knew what they had in Jacob Zboril. And you had Kevin Miller, who had not played in almost 2 years. So it's like you expected a bit of a step down in terms of what you're going to get from the defense. And so far, I mean, they've been money. I mean, they're second in the league in goals against, first in 5-on-5 shots on goal against. I think they're second in expected goals against. So you look at kind of everything that they bring. And again, it's not just the fact that McAvoy and these guys are playing unconscious. They've been fantastic, especially McAvoy, but I think it's also a byproduct of just the way the system's built, that they're not straying from Cassidy's, zone structure. I think it helps when you've got a couple of good defensive-minded centers like Bergeron and Coyle as kind of that next line of defense out there a little bit. Obviously, it helps when you have two good goalies as well. So I think it's a lot of stuff that are factoring into it, but just the fact that they've been plugging in these pieces into the system and it has been as good as ever. And again, credit that to also the fact that Kevin Miller's looked solid, that Jake Zboril, even with some ups and downs, is still doing his job. And Jeremy Lauzon has gotten better and better as he has gone on. I think that's easily the biggest story. It's just the fact that an area of weakness that I think we all expected has been good, if not even better so far this year in terms of just that defensive structure.
Yeah, to me, I agree with you. I'm going to go a little kind of more specific. I think the biggest surprise has been Jeremy Lauzon. That was obviously a big hole to fill. Who is going to go next to McAvoy in that first pairing with Chara gone? Even if Chara returned, he would not have been on that top pairing, I don't think. And we thought it'd be Grizzlick. We thought that was kind of the obvious one. They put Lauzon in there, and he's been fantastic. He's stepped up. I remember the first game, he was not too great. Ever since, he's gotten better and better and better. And he's been, able to go against teams' top lines, and he's been good moving the puck as well. And you're sort of starting to see his game take shape with that consistent playing time. So to me, that because when the playoff time comes around, Jacob Zboril has been another big surprise, but that's a third pairing defenseman. His numbers can be sheltered. You can just put him in the O-zone. You can try to kind of shelter his minutes, as we've seen Cassidy and company do. You can't do that with Lauzon when he's with McAvoy. And Lauzon's played a ton. He's played really well. So to me, that's been the biggest surprise, Jeremy Lauzon. If we want to go outside of that, Nick Ritchie. Now, Nick Ritchie has not been as great as maybe people kind of like to make him out to be. Partially, I think people are joking. Partially, maybe people are serious. 5-on-5, he's really been kind of not there. Not too great. Do not pass him the puck in transition. But as a net front power play guy, he does his job. He finishes his chances. So that's been a pleasant surprise that, you're going to see him have a ton of goals at the end of the year probably. And it's going to be like, what? Yep. But to me, he's also been a pleasant surprise. I'm not going to sit here and say he's your new top six left or right winger. No, he's at best a third line left winger. But nonetheless, he's scoring goals, so can't hate that.
Better than what we expected was going into the year. So, yeah, I don't think anyone has any issues with that at all.
Nick Ritchie could have, stepped on the ice, and it would have been like, oh, damn, he's already doing better than we thought he'd do last year.
Right, exactly.
So at least there's that. Any other surprises? Bad surprises? Good surprises?
I guess maybe, yeah, I mean, good surprises, just quick recap, I would say probably the special teams play has been great. PK has been good even without Chara. You've got, I think, other guys stepping up, even a Bjork, who's been good as kind of a guy on the PK unit. Power play has been excellent, even the fact that they don't have a set fifth guy yet, which seems like we're going to get a 5 forward grouping to start against the Rangers, and we'll see how that goes. Seems like Cassidy wants to give that group a look, and as long as the other team's not getting, shorthanded goals against them, we'll see how it goes, because obviously you're subtracting maybe a little bit more of that defensive structure in favor of some more offensive firepower, which if you're scoring at the rate they are, then it doesn't really matter, I guess. So we'll see how that looks. And then really hasn't been too many unpleasant surprises. I'd say maybe DeBrusk is the only one where you're like, I won't put like Kasha as a disappointment yet because he got injured. Like it's a bad luck for him, right? But DeBrusk, hopefully he's able to gain some traction there, because the way this team's playing, it's already great. But again, we talk about it all the time whenever he's in a rut, or when he's, got a goal scoring streak. But the top 6 or middle 6 looks so much better when you have DeBrusk on his game. It just adds such a different element, especially at 5-on-5 play. So hopefully he gets going, because he's probably one of the few guys where you look at him and be like, this guy can offer a whole lot more than what he's shown so far.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree with all that. So those are biggest surprises. We covered everything we had to in today's show. Connor, before I let you go, what can the people look forward to at Boston Sports Journal? Yeah,
we're going to be breaking down all these games. It's good to finally have some games back on the schedule. So you got 2 against the Rangers, which could be some high-scoring games based on the way the Rangers play. They got a matchup against the Islanders. So we're breaking those games down. We might do a little bit of a look ahead at the expansion draft later this weekend, just because I think everyone had a set idea of who was going to get protected, but seeing a couple other guys now jump into the equation makes it a little bit tougher when you kind of look ahead to that. So we'll explore that later this week as well over at BSA. So subscribe over at bostonsportsjournal.com. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I can't guarantee they're going to be bangers like they were this past week, but if you want to follow my tweets, you can do that. Follow at ConorRyan_93.
Do all that. There will be lots of bangers. And Nick Ritchie, new next year, the top goal scorer of the Seattle Kraken. Seattle Kraken right here. Boom.
There you go.
Just like that. Anyways, that has been Poke the Bear episode 30. You Poke the Bear listeners, have an amazing rest of your day.